What's up, you guys? I am here today to talk to you about soul contracts. So, many of us grew up sort of in religious upbringings, right? Where we were taught, um, indoctrinated into the belief system of our parents or our family, right? That could be Catholicism, Christianity, Buddhism, Islam, Hinduism, whatever it is, right? Um, and so many of us were taught certain aspects that come along with that belief system. And in my experience, through my own research, through my own sort of feelings, through communication with energies that are not necessarily in this 3D dimensional experience, I've come to understand and believe that we come here and we reincarnate over and over again with the purpose of learning soul virtues, right? To learn lessons that aid in the evolution of our soul's growth. And what's interesting is that there's also what I believe is a part that we actually play in designing our incarnation experiences. And these are called soul contracts, meaning before we incarnate, we actually outline what it is we want to learn. We structure who we want to interact with. We design our experiences, some of them very difficult, traumatic, tumultuous roads. We pick our parents, we pick where we want to live, we pick, what our incarnation goals are, and we execute that. And that is what a soul contract is. It's sort of an outline on an incarnation by incarnation basis of what it is we're trying to accomplish and achieve in a certain incarnation. So what's interesting about these soul contracts is that there's a concept of soul groups, right? So soul groups are groups of souls that tend to incarnate with each other, and we play different roles in our lives to help each other learn these lessons, experience different things, and to trigger certain things that we're going to need to have these evolutionary and expansionary experiences, right? So soul groups tend to be souls that are relatively in the same sort of soul's evolutionary process or stage. And so you may have been your mother's brother. You may have been your father's husband or wife in a different life. You may have been, your aunt's brother or sister or husband or wife or something in many different incarnations. You may have killed one of your family members, and they may have killed you, and all sorts of things, because these things play out over millennia, and we incarnate over and over and over and over and over again. And what's interesting is Earth. They say Earth is one of the most difficult schools out there. It comes along with a lot of things that you don't have to deal with on other planets, right? Like Earth is very organic, meaning there are planets where you don't have to eat food, physical food. There are planets where you don't have to poop, where their consciousness is so elevated that you don't have the wars, you don't have murder, you don't have all these things that we have on this planet that make it a very trying experience for a lot of us, right? Energetically, emotionally, vibrationally. And so, they call Earth a masterclass. If you came here, you came here to experience some things, and to contribute to the evolution of consciousness or the experience of a collective. So that's the interesting thing, right? A soul contract could be that you're coming to learn a virtue for yourself, that you're coming to learn, forgiveness or self-love or discipline or patience or whatever it might be. But then there are also contracts where you're coming to play a part in the play, right? So you may come here just to be an antagonist for someone else. You may come here without the necessary element of learning a soul virtue personally, but to share something, a gift that's going to ease the experience or progress consciousness, right? So you may be a tremendous entertainer on a global scale that just helps people sort of get along, right? Music that helps people identify with things in their life and gets them through, right? You've heard tons of times when people talk about, man, that song saved my life, or that artist just speaks to me and I wouldn't be here, and da da da, right? Or you've heard people talk about individuals who really take us from one place to another, right? The Nikola Teslas and the Albert Einsteins and the Martin Luther King Juniors and these people, who come here with an anointing, with the energy on them that just takes things to another level, right? So that may be their contract. And so then then you have other aspects where you have energies and souls that aren't necessarily from an earth origin. So they may come here to help progress the consciousness of this earth at the time, in an effort to help in a benevolent way, right? Like an Arcturian or a Palladian energy that comes here to really give of themselves to try and help humans, or souls of a human origin to evolve in their consciousness and their capability, right? So soul contracts are really interesting, and soul groups really can be very interesting as well when you start to look and say, well, who in my life might be somebody in my soul group, right? You start to say, well, this person gives me all types of trouble, right? So, or this person's been very interesting, or man, I know that person, that boyfriend or girlfriend in college, like we had a tremendous bond, like we grew together in incredible ways and we still have a connection, right? Like I just can't, that person will always be connected, or you meet someone and you'll see them and you don't know why, but you just have to talk to them. Like you end up connecting with them and you're not sure why. Like for me, I've had several women that they're not necessarily even my type. I don't really have a type, but they're not necessarily my type. But for some reason, I had to go talk to them. And more than one of those women have ended up being in my life for decades. And we've gone through tons of experiences, and we've helped each other and triggered each other and have grown and been forced to look introspectively at how we're doing things, how we're operating, and to self sort of correct and expand to get to a new level of who we're capable of being, so that we can end old patterns or move beyond sort of a belief system that we had. And so when you start to look at the people around you, like, man, that person's definitely in my soul group. Well, that person, maybe not so much, but that person for sure, right? So when you start to get into it, it's interesting to sort of start to think about those people who might be in your contract. And then you start to say, well, okay, let me look back on my life. And what are the virtues that I might actually be here to experience, right? Like, what have I been going through? What have been sort of the major themes in my life? What have been my major frustrations that I've gone through that might show me that these are the things I need to step into to learn? Because we will repeat something over and over until we embody a lesson, right? So say, for instance, you continually get into relationships where you're a people pleaser and you feel like you have to serve to get love, and people take advantage of you. If that's happening in your interpersonal relationships, more than likely it's happening outside of that, right? It's probably happening at work. It may be happening in your family. And so what is that here to teach you? Who would you have to be, or what would you have to do to show up to change that, right? Self-love. That might be one of the virtues you're here to learn, right? How to stand up and say no, how to stand up for yourself, put yourself at least at an equal playing field with the people and say, well, I know you want this, but I deserve this as well, right? This is the baseline of what I'm going to allow in terms of my relationship, so that I show up for myself, right? So that I'm not a victim in this lifestyle. And that's the other thing about soul contracts, right? Is if you start to look at it like, I designed this, like I had a role in designing this experience, then it takes a lot of the victimhood away, because a lot of people go through life, woe is me, like, I can't believe this is happening to me again. Like, why am I always struggling for this? I can't catch a break. But when you say, okay, I designed this, so what is it that I might be trying to get myself to understand, to appreciate, to embody, so that I can move past this energetic level to get to the next stage, to get to the next level, to level up in my life? Why might I have been doing this? Why did I set things up this way? That gives you a level of empowerment and responsibility, frankly, to say, okay, well, what do I need to do? Who do I need to step up and be? Like, what is the next step for me, as opposed to just sitting here and waiting on something to happen? What do I need to do to get out there and make something happen? And so that to me is an interesting dynamic. Is sort of taking that look and saying, okay, well, if this is what I've done, if this is I have a role in this, then what was I trying to do? What am I trying to accomplish in this life? You know, what is it that I need to embody to level up to the next stage, right? And that brings in karma. So karma, to me, is a two-sided thing, and it's not anything bad. Karma's not trying to punish you. Karma's not trying to hurt you. Karma's not trying to get back at you. It's not punitive in any way. It's just literally trying to show you the opposite side of something, to help you understand what it is that you need to see to embody the understanding of that experience, right? So if you cheat on someone multiple times, you're only going to see one aspect. You're never going to appreciate the hurt, the self-doubt that may incur from that, the desire to have somebody really see you for who you are and not take you for granted, right? So if you cheat on someone, that karma is instantly built, because you need to understand it from the other side to have the full soul sort of awareness and understanding, right? So there are two types of karma though, right? There's soul karma, meaning sort of the personality, the direction of your soul as you move through all these incarnations, right? So you're building this understanding, you're evolving as a soul, you're gaining these virtues. So there's a certain karma that goes along with that soul's journey. Then there's incarnation karma, meaning something you incur as a function of what you do in an individual incarnation. So say, for instance, you do murder somebody or kill somebody or cheat on someone in incarnation, which wasn't necessarily in your soul contract. Instantly, you build up karma that's going to have to be balanced out. And that's how I see karma. It's like balance, right? It's just the other side of the equation. This is done. This needs to be understood as a function of that, right? So you can have that full understanding of what it is that sort of thing means, not only physically, but energetically, vibrationally, consciously. And so, you know, when you start to step back, it's really an interesting subject to dive into. You know, one of the books that really opened my eyes to sort of this experience and this understanding, or this sort of perspective on incarnations and souls sort of journey, is a book by Michael Newton called Journey of Souls. Really a great book. I have given that book out as gifts. I recommended it to tons of people, and most people that read it really do walk away with a different understanding of what's possible for this experience. And a lot of people are like, man, that feels right. Like that resonates with me a lot more than believing that there's this punitive sort of experience that I'm going through. If I don't get it right, I'm going to hell, right? Because that never set well with me. That, you know, I went to Catholic schools all my life, and it just never felt right. Like it felt like control through fear. And that's something that never set well with me. And again, I just, through my experiences, through my own sort of engagement, and through talking with other people outside of the sort of circle that I grew up with, you start to just see that there are other possibilities. And I don't knock any religion. I think they're all talking about the same thing. It's just the matter in which it's applied and discussed. And so I see the beauty and the potential in every religion, right? I think that it's all about who you become. It's all about the self-awareness that you gain, the evolution of who you are, and how it impacts the way you walk and move through life and treat others. And so I just, the only issue I have with any religion is to the extent that it says I'm the only way. This is the only way, right? Because to me, that's an egoistic sort of viewpoint. And when you start to look back and say, okay, well, how are these religions being used to manipulate and control people? You start to see how aspects of man have been introduced to make sure that people sort of brought themselves to one religion or another. And if you didn't, there was a problem, right? Through fear, again, more fear. And so this sort of understanding, the soul contract, evolution, gives me, it just feels a lot better. It opens the door for a lot more inclusion in terms of how people get to the top of the mountain, which is, to me, enlightenment and understanding, as opposed to just getting to heaven. So that's my perspective. These are some of my experiences in terms of getting to really see and understand this human incarnation experience, and how it is that we navigate through this life, and how we might be able to look at it from a different perspective to change how we interact with it and what we believe is possible for ourselves. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. Ask any question you want down in the comments, and I'll come back and answer it. All right, take care.